Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to a new video. And for the gentleman who commented he missed the videos when I was in my car, we're back. We're in the car. And I read a comment I had to share with you all. A car dealer, a salesman, actually responded to my last video and had no problem owning up that he's a car salesman. And he actually made some cogent, coherent points and some points that I would love to share with you all. And I would also love for him to be able to watch this video that he inspired me to make and actually postpone another video I was going to shoot today, because I believe these points are critical and absolutely valid and worth exploring. And I think it's very important that the part that he's missing here is likely a part that all the dealers are missing and all the car salesmen out there are missing, which is accountability. Accountability for their actions this last 3 or 4 years. And for that reason, I think that while his points are valid, hold water, are legitimate and factual and truthful, which is awesome to have coming from a car salesman at a dealership, a Dodge dealership, that it's going to fall on deaf ears, because they gotta own what they did. They gotta own what they did, and they gotta own the solution. Not allow the manufacturer to provide a solution and the customer to be desperate for a solution that would lead to their ultimate demise as car dealerships. So let me read the comment he left, and it's a great comment, and I'm not being, facetious here. I mean, straight up, like, legitimately great comment. So let me read it to you all. Here he is. He writes, from a salesman's perspective, he writes, I just negotiated a deal on a Dodge Hornet. So apparently they did sell one. So that's good. They sold one. So that's great news for them. Dodge Hornet yesterday, and the MSRP was $33,795, and the invoice was $33,219. There was about $700 in holdback. Flooring average per vehicle on the lot is $700 a month. Flooring is interest the dealership pays while they wait for the car to sell. We've talked about that in other videos, so excellent point to make. So hear me out. There is little to no markup on these vehicles. Dealers are struggling to pay bills and make a profit because the manufacturers are being super greedy, and you all want to pay more for the vehicle from the manufacturer, who will now have a monopoly. Go look at prices on CDJR vehicles right now. Everything is heavily discounted. You give up the dealerships and nothing will be discounted again. The competition will only be Ford or Chevy, etc. The manufacturers are the greedy ones, trust me. And after COVID, when the markups happened, they cut the difference between invoice and MSRP and cut the holdback. You're right, they want to thin the amount of dealerships for sure. So let's break this down, and he deserves a response. First, I think it's awesome that he's flat out admitting that, yeah, they are not making a lot of money on these cars, and that was confirmed to me from a owner of a CDJR dealership who actually showed me his actual profit in his pocket on a Hellcat, and that, yes, the manufacturer whittled it down. But the manufacturer, as this dude says it right here, the manufacturer did that during the markup craze. So I believe the manufacturer simply responded to the dealers capitalizing on the low inventory market, and the manufacturer saying, well, if they're going to make, instead of $3,000 or $4,000 a car, $30,000 or $40,000 a car, well, then they don't need our money. And that was a side effect nobody at these dealerships thought through or expected to happen. And it's all fair in love and war, and what is it, honor amongst thieves does not exist. So here's where they landed. The flooring costs definitely expensive, which is why it's cheaper sometimes for these dealers to move cars that aren't selling under invoice, because they're just going to keep getting hit with costs to hold those things. So he says, hear me out, there's little no markup on these, and dealers are struggling to pay the bills to make profit because the manufacturer's being super greedy. Okay, but what about the last 3 years, 4 years? What about the whole COVID excitement when dealers and manufacturers, but dealers were clocking historically record profits, making so much money. I'm talking private jet money. I mean, insane amounts of money off of the backs of these consumers who simply wanted and needed to buy cars. Now, the good news is rates were a lot lower, interest rates were a lot lower, so it didn't hurt them as bad, but it still hurt them because their balances were significantly higher, and they were coming out with $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. So what about then? Historically record profits. In the history of our country, car manufacturers and car dealers had never had profits like they had this last 3 years. And then the music stopped. Interest rates went up, UAW strike, you've got a whole bunch of inventory piling up, and the dealers are sitting there going, okay, I can't move these things. Customers get sick and tired of fighting with the car salesmen and the car dealers and don't even think it's worth going in, especially considering they're going to have to pay so much more for a car on price and interest rate now. So then the brakes get slammed on. So of course there's little to no markup because everybody's calling BS now. We're like, I'm not buying anything for that kind of price. So now you have to adjust. Some dealers have not adjusted and are still asking stupid things. But now what's happening is you guys at the dealerships are trading off, not all, but many are trading off these markups for misleading prices on the websites and then slapping, as you saw in 2 videos ago, massive amounts of add-ons and $300 for nitrogen-filled tires and $350 for lug nuts. You can walk back to your parts department as a customer and literally buy them for $79. I mean, if that's not shady, I don't know what is. I mean, you think the salesman, somebody raised by something other than wolves, would say to that customer, hey, look, you know, you can walk back to the parts department right now and buy those locking lug nuts for $79. But I'm going to charge you for $350. Let me go see if I can work something out here and take that off. Or maybe don't even put it on there. What a crazy concept. So the crazy bullshit continues. And it continues at the same stupid level it was before. They're just not calling them markups. They're calling them add-ons and admin fees and, you know, outside financing fees if you're coming in with your own loan. I mean, I get, look, but we're trying to stay in business. What did you do with all that money you took from us? I mean, literally a year ago, people were paying $50,000 over for Hellcats. Where did all that money go? Well, go look in the airplane hangar for the owner of that dealership and check out his jet, his private jet. I mean, the money had to have gone somewhere. Knowing that that couldn't have lasted forever, did they save that money? Well, I don't know. They're crying the blues now, but I don't think it's fair to expect us to have sympathy when we still to this day have to walk into a dealership and spend 6.5+ hours to buy a car. It's not a walk in and buy it. Now, it is if you go to CarMax, you want to buy a used car, you can go in, you can go online, find the car, apply for the loan, get approved for the loan, compare it to your credit union financing. If it's better, take it. If it's less, go ahead and click buy this car. Show up with your pre-approval or your check and leave in that car in, I've done it now, what, 2 or 3 times at CarMax? Literally, it's 30 minutes. It's 30 damn minutes. It's so incredibly easy. Plus, I get like 30 days to return the car if I don't like it. So CarMax has figured out how to make this a much easier process. How in the hell can you Dodge dealerships, hell, Ford dealerships, Toyota dealerships, how is it that you guys can't figure out how not to suck 6 to 8 hours out of us? I can't tell you how many times I've showed up at a dealership at 12 o'clock in the afternoon thinking, man, there's plenty of time. Or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's plenty of time. It didn't matter what time I showed up because I was leaving as they were closing. It was dark out as I was leaving. And the brain damage I had to endure.
I don't want to drive it. I just want my old car back, okay? I'm not falling for this bit.
No way. Let's go, Russ.
For that entire process was something, I mean, short of just locking me in a cage and hosing me down and waterboarding me.
That's when you jumped out of the van after I got out. Admit it.
It's about the same damn thing. So why do you do that? That's what makes us want you gone. And in that process, I end up leaving and looking at my paperwork. I'm so mentally exhausted, and then I walk into finance and I get worked over again for a bunch of crap. It's only going to be $2 more. It's only going to be $3 a month more. It's only going to be $4 a month more, buying all this crap you don't need. And then I go home and I'm like, whoa. And then I pay attention. My head clears. And I look on there and I paid a $9.79 admin fee that they just slipped in there during the whole mental torture process. You guys created this, where we're willing to do a deal. Let me pull this up here. We're willing to do a deal. We're willing to work with the devil themselves, the manufacturers. We're willing to take a ride with them. We're willing to roll the dice with them, because rolling dice with you has been a hell of a horrible ride. I get your margins are thin, but I think you guys did it to each other with gouging the daylights out of us, because the only people really, really losing for a long time was us. We never had a situation on the consumer end where we got to cash in big time. Maybe we didn't lose as much money on our trade-ins, and there was some opportunities during the COVID or during the lower inventory period. But as soon as the low inventory period ended, you guys should have stopped the insanity. I get it. You only have a short amount of cars because inventory is so low, you got to do the markups. I can almost forgive you for that. What I can't forgive you for is the horsepower locator that was created almost 100% and sold as something that's going to help the consumer, help us find where the cars are. But it turned out it helped funnel inventory to the biggest, shadiest dealerships while choking off the small, honest dealerships we've all dealt with in these smaller communities that we've dealt with and bought 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 cars from, that we've established a relationship where that dealer would definitely sell us an MSRP car because it's the 5th car we've bought from them in our family, but they didn't get any inventory. Who got the inventory? The big giant dealership that now I have to go to, who says, we want $50,000 over for a Hellcat, $25,000, $35,000 over for Scat packs. Wide bodies are going to be more, narrow bodies are going to be less, and they're still going to be outrageous. And by the way, we're going to add on $300 of nitrogen, filled tires, and another $4,000 or $5,000 for tinted windows and everything else. And you're going to like it, or you don't get the car. No, you can't go to another dealership because we have the inventory because Dodge funneled it to us. So that was creating a monopoly. And as far as the monopoly comment, I get it. That was one of the issues the DOJ actually commented on in one of their articles when they were analyzing this. Is it going to be a monopoly issue? Well, at this point, no. There's so many different choices now. If I don't want to buy a Dodge, I could buy a Ford. I could buy a Chevy. I could go buy a Toyota. I could go buy a Mazda. I could go buy a Land Rover. I can go buy a Volvo. I can go buy a BMW. I can go buy a Mercedes. I mean, there's so many different, Nissan. I mean, I can go buy something somewhere. So competition exists regardless of whether there's dealerships or not. And the reality of the thought of anti-monopoly would be that the dealership in Anaheim, California would have a better deal than the dealership in Huntington Beach. But because of the horsepower locator, they were able to, quote, collude, just guessing here, collude on Demon 170 prices, which was weird that they all had the same amount of markups for the most part, almost nationwide, almost instantly. The horsepower locator allowed them all to decide, okay, we're going to start at $50,000, we're going to hold at $50,000, and the competition almost went away. It was like everybody was the same thing, and I was doing the calls. The videos are on my channel. Everybody was saying 50,000, 50,000. So you guys created a situation where the customers are okay if you go away. We're okay not having to spend 6.5, 7 hours, 10 hours in a dealership getting worked over and waterboarded to end up leaving in a car where we get ripped off or we don't know what the hell we bought.
Clark, is that the right car?
No, it isn't, honey. I changed my mind.
They flattened our old car like a pancake.
Yeah, there's discounts right now, but Lord knows with that Hornet, what did the guy leave with? Did the guy leave with some warranty plan he's not going to need? Did he leave with some kind of nitrogen-filled tire fee that he didn't need? Did he pay an admin fee? What else did you do to them to make the money? Because poor dealerships aren't making any money. So I get it. I'd love to feel bad for you, but you overplayed your hand. The second COVID, the shortage of inventory went away, and there was plenty of inventory. They should have stopped this. If they needed to make a little more on the cars because the manufacturer whittled down the profit, $2,000 or $3,000 markups, $2,000 or $3,000 add-ons. We all could have just wrapped our head around it at some point and been like, well, that sucks. But $50,000 for a mass-produced plastic injection molded interior, plastic freaking American car. I mean, $50,000 over, $140,000 for a Hellcat Red Eye, $125,000 to $135,000 I saw for Hellcats. I mean, this was Mercedes S-Class territory, which is insane. And people were going in all excited while you're telling them, oh, the car's going to be worth more, they're going up value, it's the last call, and people were buying them. So the lying, the manipulation, the lack of ethics, integrity, that's the problem. And then I'll close with this. Knowing that I walk into a dealership today and the salesman I meet, and if I do like that salesman and he's got ethics and integrity, that for that reason, he likely won't be there very long. So the good, high ethical, high integrity salesman that I established a relationship with, that I enjoyed working with, that I bought maybe 2 cars from, he's probably not going to be there very long. He's going to be ejected out unless he figures out how to gouge the daylights out of his customers, because that's who they want working there. So the good ones won't stay. A good GM who does people right won't last because he's not making enough profit. So the system's broken. And unless you guys, the dealerships, take control of this and start doing people right and really go out there to say, we are no add-ons, no junk fees, no nothing. The price is what it is. Come in today without your own financing, cash, use our finance, do whatever the hell you want. You can buy it for this price. CarMax, then we're gonna opt for trying it out with the manufacturer, because it can't be any worse. And if they overprice the cars, we'll just go buy another car from another company, which means they'll have to drive the prices down. They'll be able to drive the prices down because they'll need to move those cars. So, sorry dealers, I mean, you did this to yourself. Hope that makes sense. I mean, I'd love you to change your ways. I think there's still time for you to do it, and I hope this video gets to somebody at a dealership. And if you want to be interviewed on my channel and say, I will not do this anymore, we will do you right. Do you want to buy a car? You won't have to get hit with nitrogen-filled tires and all this other crap. Comment or message me on Instagram, and let's set that appointment up, and I'll be happy to give you some airtime. So with that, please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.